Waka waka people, and welcome to the final part of this too long list review. So let's get right into Raging Moose and his Guard Custom Regiment, or is it Tyranids? Who knows? It's real time. So Gunnery Experts and Jury Rig Repairs. So that is the re-rolling one dice per number of shots, and the repairing one wound or D3 on a 6 at the start of every turn. Pretty good. I think this Jury Rig Repairs should be looked at more often, I think, especially if you're going to be running a mech list like this. So let's look. He's got the Triple Tank Commander and the Emperor's Fist Tank Command Company, obviously, for the Hammer of Sunderance. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is obviously a brigade. So 5 infantry squads, just base, and then a Scion Plasma Bomb. 2 Astropaths for the Night Shroud and Psychic Maelstrom. I'm not sure what Psychic Maelstrom is. I think most people probably take what's the one? The Psi Steel Armor, what it is. Whatever it is. Let's have a look. See if we can find a quick thing. Maelstrom. Pick an enemy within 18 inches. Roll a dice. On a 2 up, do a mortal wound. On a 3 up, do a mortal wound. Okay, so it's like a rolling thing where you do more multiple wounds if you keep rolling a higher dice number, which is all right. I should say it's kind of terrible, to be honest. I would just take the +1 save, and then a Master of Ordnance, or a Master of Shooting Things Better. Armored Sentinels. 2 Hellhounds, basically cheapest chips. And then Hellhounds are pretty good, I think, now. Especially if they can regen, and they can reroll the number of dice on their Inferno Cannon. Must be pretty, not that bad. Worth a look anyway. And then we've got a Demolisher Leman Russ, Battle Tank Leman Russ, and then a Manticore, and then we have another battalion, which is the same. So 2 company commanders, a bunch of infantry squads, and then 2 basilisks. This basilisk has full payload. I haven't seen any other mention of... Okay, weapon expert. I can't really remember what that does. Might be the flat... Let's see what weapon expert is, shall we? People were saying I had to look up these things more. So I'm gonna be checking things to make sure that I'm getting them right. I know it's from Great Good, and I know it's a tank thingy. Yeah, so you can reroll one of the dice. That's the Gunnery Expert one. Weapon Expert. Okay, so it's an extra AP. What's that on? What's he put it on? The Hammer of Sunderance. So it's going to be AP 4? I'm not really sure that's worth it. Weird choice. Because like you cap out at AP 3, I think, on most things. Because when you're shooting the Hammer of Sunderance at something, it's either going to be capped out at AP 3 because it'll be a 6 up or a 7 up save, or it's going to be hitting an invuln at that point. So giving an extra AP isn't going to be that much. What I would do is do the one that gives you reduce all damage by 1, and then with the added regen from Jury Rig Repairs, this tank commander becomes very, very tanky, very tough to kill. Or give him he always acts on top bracket, whatever that one is. But yeah, it's a decent guard list. It's got a lot of bodies, can do a lot of screening. It's got the artillery, and I think maybe I would sacrifice one of these Leman Russes, the Punisher, probably, to be another Basilisk or 2, or another Manticore, something. And I put the full payload on the Manticore because I think it's better, just straight up better. But otherwise, yeah, it's a pretty good list. A lot of bodies, a lot of tanks. It's a typical guard list. And then we have a solo Highfleet Kraken Tyranid list. So with the Malanthrope, Neurothrope, 3 Ripper Swarms, Hive Guard, 3 Exocrines. Yeah, this is what I think the Gene Stealers, or sorry, Tyranids should be trying to run. And you can see it's it's not. It's got one group of Hormagaunts, 24 Hormagaunts to hold the space, and then it's got the Ripper Swarms to hold the objectives. And apart from that, everything in the army is specialized to do something. So you've got the 3 Excrons, and you've got the Swarm Lord and the Brood Lord, and then you've got 40 Gene Stealers. I think that's basically how you should be running. Oh no, it's Kronos and Kraken, not Mono Kraken. But yeah, this is in my mind how you should be running Tyranids. Not like having loads of different types of units. The only thing I would maybe do is cut these Hormagaunts down to a 10, because you don't need 24 Hormagaunts. Yeah, that's really it. And then you could take a couple more Ripper Swarms, because Rippers are really good at deep striking in turn 3 and just going and hold objectives and getting your recon and stuff like that. It's really handy to have that. And they're such unappealing targets to shoot, because it's like what, 3 wounds per base, and then it's just like such an unappealing amount of wounds to shoot. So yeah, I think I like this list. Then we're going to look at Red Dog Vizsla, and his Salamanders. It's a couple of Salamanders lists. So, got Chaplain Dread, always good start. Libby in Terminator. Incursor, Tactical. Wait a minute. Have I seen this list before? This is very similar to the list that we looked at in part 1, I think. Had the Incursors, had the 2 Tactical squads. And then this list goes on to have a Captain and Terminator, a Librarian, Contemptor Mortis, Eliminator, Land Raider, Thunderfire. Oh, it's a mass. It's a bit of a mess, if I say so. And then he's got a Lieutenant, Aggressor, Apothecary, Terminator. I think the general idea is the Terminators are going to tank. I think. But it's just like one of everything. It's not really like specialized. Like Land Raider, Redeemer, I'm pretty sure it's still shit, even if it's Salamanders. I don't think anything is gonna make that good. Salamanders to me aren't a solo army like this. They're a support detachment. Like, you take Salamanders, Terminators, and stop them shooting at your precious Cataphrone Destroyer group or something like that. Sorry, I'm very tired today. So yeah, it's I would say Salamanders are more of a support army than a solo army. There's like one of everything in here, and it just seems quite unoptimized. It's just like, oh, what can I fit in here? Oh, a Land Raider with flamers, because Salamanders like flamers. Stuff like that. But yeah, definitely a weird list. Just see how it goes. And then we're looking at Death Guard. So we have the Demon Prince, the Malignant Plague Caster, a bunch of Plague Marines with Blight Launchers, 2 C-Beam Decimators. We'll have a look at what these are, because I've got no idea what Chaos Decimator is. What the fuck is that? Oh my lord, what is this? Let's have a look on Wikipedia. Look at its stats. So strength 7, tough 7, 8 wounds, 5 attacks. Not bad, 3 up save. He's got 2 C-Beamers, so C-Beams are always... They were good. I don't know if they're still good now. I'd probably think no. It's got 5 up invuln, regens a wound, and it's got Dark Fury, which doesn't apply anyway. It's basically a dread, isn't it? And it's, how many points is he paying? 150? Meh. For 2 C-Beams? Not great. I guess it's really good against hordes, but we haven't really seen that many hordes, I don't think. And then he's got Deathrite Termes, Blight Haulers, and then Mortarion. I guess my problem with this is Mortarion is the main thing in this list, and if Mortarion dies, this list is much worse off. It's a lot harder to win the game without Mortarion, and I think this list just really struggles against armored lists like that last guard list we saw with a load of tanks. They have so many squads of guard that they can screen out Mortarion from getting into the tanks. And then the tanks can just blow everything else off the table, and there's nothing really that can go against them. It's nice to see Mortarion. I'd like to see more Bash Pros lists. And we're going to look at Rick Bardock with his custom Hive Fleets. This is interesting. Carnifexes. So, Hive Fleet with Preysight and Sense of the Outer Dark. I wonder what these do. Oh. So, let's have a look on Wapedia, because this is where we find out everything. Right. So, Preysight and Sense of the Outer Dark. So, Preysight, monster unit in this adaptation makes a charge move. You get +1 to hit. Cool. And then you get 4-up Feel No Pain to Overwatch as well, which is pretty damn good, to be honest. It'll keep something like Old One Eye and Swarm Lords and Carnifexes alive against Centurions and stuff, which is good. So he has got the Old One Eye, Swarm Lord, Hormagaunts and Rippers. I like this setup for the troop fillers, because you've got something to hold the back lines, and this can hold 2 objectives really at the same time. And then you've got stuff to deep strike in to hold other objectives. And then he's got 2 Biovores. I still don't like Biovores. They're 40 points, but I still don't think they're great. 3 Carnifexes. Carnifexes are Carnifexes. Let's see the rest of his list before going too much on that. And then he has 4 Tyrannocytes with Death Spitters. I mean, they're just cheap for what they are. They're pretty damn good. I mean, they're pretty damn good in the sense that they're cheap. Death Spitters aren't great weapons. But I guess this sort of thing will be good at clearing the hordes, where this sort of thing is good at killing Centurions and elite infantry, that sort of thing, and tanks, obviously. So this one's got Cranial Channeling and Members Mobility. So Cranial Channeling is going to be you can reroll failed psychic or reroll psychic tests, and Mobility is so a melee attack against a model with it. Okay, so things with fly. So we're looking at the Neurothropes and the Zoanthropes. If they get charged and locked down in melee, they're -1 to hit, which isn't great, to be honest, but what else are you going to give them? I don't think really anything else fits in there that much, does it? Probably not. But I think that detachment could have been better. Chosen. Yeah, it's a. I mean, this is basically just like a psychic detachment, really, for supporting this big other detachment. And you have to wonder if it worth it, because it's 600 points, and you can get this psychic. I think Swarmlords, Flyrants are just superior, and I can't remember how much they cost, but you could have a supreme command of 3 Flyrants, maybe. Might be better, but yeah, shitload of Carnifexes basically. Really struggles when it comes up against something with a lot of high damage, high AP, high strength shooting. Something like this, actually. Yeah, so this is a guard admech list. So we've got the infantry squads and the 2 manticores. I'm not sure if... I mean, one of these is going to have a tank ace, I think. Maybe even 2 of them. You've got the Hammer of Sunderance Tank Commander, always a good choice. How many points is this detachment? 700 points, basically, to have a Tank Commander with Hammer of Sunderance and 2 Manticores. That's basically what they're paying for here. We'll see if it works out, but I'm not thinking that it will. And then we have a Styges of Sniper Rangers, and then Sniper Rangers, Disintegrators, all with Belleros, and then another Stygie with 2 Engine Seers, and a bunch of Vanguard, and some Neutron Onagers, which are terrible. He will regret taking this many Neutron Onagers, because there'll be a turn where he has to kill something, and he'll roll a 1 for the number of shots for each of them, and then he'll miss half the shots, and then he'll fail to wound half the shots. Because you'll notice he doesn't have any rerolls or any extended range in his list. So these disintegrators are going to be shooting at 36 inches and not 42 inches, so that makes them worse. If you're taking disintegrators with Belros, you should always try to be taking a Manipulus for the extra range, because the difference between 36 inch and 42 inch, it means you've got a big buffer there. And really, you don't need this many Skitarii at all. Nowhere near. Like, you cut this group, and you cut this group, and you have enough points for a Manipulus. Easy. Or actually, you could just cut one of these, and then cut the engines here, and you have enough for a Manipulus. And then the Neutron Onagers are just really, really terrible. Dune Riders are good. They're just decent bodies. I think the main concern here is this okay as a guard detachment? I mean, it's fine, but would it be better if you just took 3 Exorcists instead? Do a cheeky little 700 point Sisters detachment. The Sisters give you some melee threat if you take Repentance as well. And they could also give you that staying power against AP -2, because this part of your army is -1 to hit. It's very unappealing to shoot. This part of your army is very easy to kill, because it's just guard. So if you make all this ignore AP2 and have your Exorcists, it's quite annoying to deal with. And I think 3 Exorcists, you have really enough outline and sight shooting with the Disintegrators, in my mind, where it's not really a problem at that stage. Manticores don't really add that much more, apart from some high damage. Oh yeah, they're full payload. So they'll be flat 3 damage, but really, you have enough other damage. Yeah. Yeah, it's I think the guard detachment is unoptimal, and I think the Neutron Onagers are unoptimal. Neutron Onagers are terrible. Stop taking them. Stop taking them. Stop it. Then we're going to go into Soviet Duck and his Grey Knights. And I think this is probably going to be quite standard. So we have Librarian and Drago. And then Strike Squad, Strike Squad, Strike Squad. I'm pretty sure, yeah, just 3. And then an Apothecary. 2 Apothecaries. I mean, that's fine, I think. And then another battalion with Brother Captain and Valdus. And then Strike Squad, Strike Squad, Strike Squad. And then Paladin Bomb. Yeah, and the Venerable Dreadnought. I think I've played against this list or something similar, and the Venerable Dreadnought is a weird pick, because it means most of the time you're going to be using your Astral Aim on the Venerable Dreadnought, so it can actually shoot through walls, which is fine, but it means you're not giving it to the Paladins. And the Paladins, with Astral Aim and the Psi Weapon buff and the Tide for being +1 damage and stuff, is much better than a Venerable Dreadnought with 1 Twin Lascannon Missile Launcher, in my mind. And cutting this means you can have more better other stuff. Yeah, that's my main thinking around this whole thing. But yeah, standard Grey Knight sort of list you'll see nowadays anyway. And then we're going to look at Space Yak with Iron Hands. First Iron Hands list we've actually seen. And yep, it looks like to be Iron Hands, what we've come to expect, really. It's the Iron Hands double battalion. Infantry spam with the 3 Chaplain Venerables, and then a Venerable Dreadnought there to be a character. So they've got 4 character Dreadnoughts. Bunch of really hard to shift infantry that are going to have a 5-up Invulnerable and a 5-up Field of Pain. Yeah, it's just all around a decent list. I have beaten this exact list, and the idea is you can spread out and force his army to sort of spread out as well, because this army wants to stay in the middle of the board. But if you can force his army to go into places he doesn't want to be, like round the board, it really forces them out of position, and they have to start spreading their numbers thin to cover all sides. And while it's a lot of wounds to chew through, it's like, how many is it? 20 in each squad. 20, 40, 60, 80, 90, 100. 100 wounds with a 5-up, 5-up. It's pretty hard to beat. But their damage goes down dramatically, and their ability to kill your stuff goes down dramatically after turn 1 because they're not in Devastator anymore. And if you can keep forcing them to move, and you can keep picking off intercessor squads at a rate of about a squad a turn, or squad and a half, or 2 squads a turn, you can start to do a lot of damage. And then when the enemy starts to get kind of desperate in the last few turns because they've been holed up in the middle and they don't have hold more anymore because they can't cover all their characters and the dreadnoughts if they keep taking hold more. Then that's when you can go snipe the characters and they start to lose cohesion a bit. So it's all about preserving your army while killing his army, because it's short range army as well. Apart from the last cannons, but the last cannons, if you're smart, they shouldn't be able to kill that much. There's a lot of line of sight blocking in the game. Spaniard and his Ultramarines. So this is pure Ultramarines. We're looking at Chaplain, a Chief Libby, Tigurius, Infiltrators, 2 Scouts, Aggressors, Comfrey Ancient, Vitreous Honor Guard, Repulsor, Goyleman, Librarian Phobos, Devastator Marines, Eliminator, and Drop Pod. Oh, sorry for that. I had to answer the door. So yeah, we've had a look at this list. I think we all watched, or some of us watched Spaniard play against the Tau list. We can see why it's strong. Guilliman is a absolute beast and a buff boat, and he's got the drop pod with Grav. He's got the Eliminators. He's got Thunderfire Cannon. The Eliminators are the weird thing for me. I probably, that's the only thing I would change with this list. Don't think you need them. And then he has the Repulsor to put the to keep the aggressors nice and safe. Company Ancient. Yeah. This is the weird thing. I don't know if it's worth it to have the Ancient. It's like a 2 CP or something, isn't it? To make the aggressors fire back on a 4-up. And it seems pretty strong when you think about it, but I think the amount of times it doesn't go off in a 4-up, I don't think it's worth it. And the CP as well is a bit of a waste. So he's got the aggressors, which are good for Ultramarines because you can make them act as if they haven't moved. The 2 Scout Squads, Infiltrators, and then all that good stuff. So the only thing I would change would be these Eliminators, and then upgrade these Scouts to be something a bit more beefy, either more Infiltrators or Intercessors with Thunderhammers. Apart from that, this list is really solid. He has a lot of psychic powers. He has a lot of beefy infantry as well. And then the Grav Bomb going off on turn 1 or turn 2, like at the worst case scenario, is always good. And then he does have the Space Marines there to absorb some of the damage if he needs to. Because sometimes you'll think, oh, I can kill a squad of Space Marines with one thing. And then you'll kill 4 Space Marines in the squad, and then that's left all the Grav Amps. And then you'll need to shoot them again with something, because you can't leave any of the Grav Amps for a turn, because they'll just kill another thing. Yeah, so I like this. Decent list. Very decent. Very, I played against it. It's very, very hard to play against as well. So we're looking at Astramal Tam next. So we have a Katchan with the Emperor's Wrath Artillery Company for those rerolls of the number of shots and stuff. 2 company commanders, a bunch of infantry, Sergeant Harker, which is an interesting choice. I always forget what he does. Let's have a look. I think he does the reroll ability or something like that. Heroic Convention. Reroll hit 1's a 1 for Katchan units. Yeah, so he's giving basically the Cadian ability to stuff in Katchan. For 50 points, it's decent enough. Taurus Venator with Last Cannons. I mean, decent choice for anti-tank for 86 points. It's really not that bad at all. A bunch of Basilisks, which I would probably put a Manticore in there. Give it full payload. Because full payload with the reroll number of shots for what's it called? For guard is really, really good. And then we have a custom regiment with gunnery experts and jury repairs, which we're seeing more now. Hammer of Sunderance, tank commander, and then a bunch of Lehman Russes, like a lot of Lehman Russes, and they're all demolishers as well. You can see, which is 1, 2, 3, 4 demolisher Lehman Russes. Look quite heavy on the tanks there. And then we've got a Scions detachment of Plasma Bomb Scions, and these guys are just to drop in and do a shitload of damage in one turn. Really, really decent amount of damage. So yeah, it's fairly straightforward in how this wins games. The tanks sit at the back, the basilisks sit at the back. You've got a lot of screening with these infantry, and then you've got this as a drop force to come in and surgically remove things. Yeah, you just sit at the back and kill stuff. It's pretty simple. One thing I would maybe change is taking these Venators out, because you have all these tanks. You don't really need these Venators at all, and you can just put that into more infantry to screen out, basically. Because that's you have like 40 infantry to screen, but I think you probably need double that for the amount of tanks and artillery you're trying to protect. So yeah, interesting guard list. We've got another guard list. Guard are quite popular this time. So we have a brigade, Talaran, which is a very popular choice right now. I think a lot of people are running Talaran for their movement fuckery. Tank commander, and then two tank commanders, one with the Hammer Sunderance and company commander, and then 3 guard squads. Battalion with company commander, Primaris Psyker, 3 guard squads, and then a bunch of Bullgrins, Astropath. I think this might be either a carbon copy or something extremely similar to Brandon Grant's LVO list. Think it might be the same or something extremely similar. And basically with the move shoot move on the tanks and stuff like that, it's just extremely hard to deal with for a lot of armies. And you know, these basilisks sitting at the back, and the Demolisher, Leman Russes, and yeah, it's hard to deal with for a lot of armies. It's a good thing to see these guard lists coming back with the lots of tanks. Now we have wait, did I click the wrong one? No, this is Stufos. I'm gonna pronounce that as Stufo 55 with his Tau Empire, and it looks like custom seps. So hardened warheads is +1 AP on the missiles, and stabilization systems is no penalty for moving and firing heavy weapons, I believe. So we have a Cavalry Fireblade, Missile Pod Cold Star, and an Ethereal. 3 breacher teams with 1 shield drone each, and then shield drone, 2 shield drone. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 shield drones so far. And then we've got another one with the same loadout. We've got a Cadre, Commander, and Cold Star with exactly the same. And then 8, 16, 24. So 31 shield drones we're up to now. And then finally we have a Cavalry Fireblade and a Commander and Commander and Enforcer with 4 missile pods. 2 shield drones, so we're up to 33 or something, and then 3 Riptides with 3 Riptides with the what's it called? 1 Riptide with the super ion cannon, and 2 normal. So he's obviously gone very heavily into the missile game here for AP -2 smart missiles, which is pretty decent to be honest. 36-inch AP -2, 1 damage, strength 5 is, and no line of sight, ignoring cover, is pretty damn good. You're going to be wounding most things on either 3s or 4s, and then AP -2 is going to put most stuff to a 4-up or worse save, like at the very worst. So very smart. 33 drones is on the border of enough drones for 3 Riptides. Let's count how many marker lights he has. So he's got 1 here. 2. 3 marker lights. Not enough in my book. Probably should have been taken at least 4 character marker lights, because now you're relying on the marker light uplink stratagem to get your +1 ballistic skill. I mean, yeah, it's one of these new Tau lists where they're trying to add in stuff from Psychic Awakening to the existing Triptide and seeing how it works. I'm not convinced it's going to be great. Like, is this really better than just being Tau Sept? I don't think so. Yeah, I gotta say I don't think so. And the Cold Stars being missile pods as well. Don't think it's better than having them as ion or even fusion blasters. And then yeah, it seems like a strange thing to go for. But I don't envy people. I don't envy people having to play it, because I would just be annoyed with this list. It's very annoying list to deal with. So let's go on to Zoz with his Death Watch. And we've got a Librarian, Watchcaptor, Artemis, and then Intercessors. Plasma on one, Plasma on one. So he's got an Aggressor in each one. And he's got an Inceptor in each one. Except for this one where he's just got an Aggressor. And he's got Power Fist on each squad as well, so they can fight their way through things. Stalker Bolt Rifles on every squad might be a problem. Actually, Deathwatch, I don't know if they get Doctrines. I presume not yet. So that's probably be fine. It's 2 damage, -2. Yeah, sure, it's fine. Next battalion is Watch Captain, Watchmaster, and more Intercessors. Just a bunch of fucking Intercessors and an Apothecary. See where this is going, really, can't you? It's basically the Iron Hands list. I mean, Intercessors and Aggressors. It's basically the Iron Hands list, but it doesn't have any of the survivability, in my mind. It's got all the same problems of maneuverability and being stretched too thin. Because when you look at it, really, you just got 6 squads of troops or infantry to deal with. And that's what I think Deathwatch are struggling with now. And yeah, I can't see this doing that well against a lot of armies. Now we're going to look at some more Ultramarines from Tabyard. So we've got Robote, and we have Chaplain Cassius and Tigurius, and we have 2 infantry squads and intercessor squad. I think infiltrator squads are going to start becoming more and more used as just basic infantry squads, because the 12-inch deep strike knife is so useful, and also the auto wound on the bolt rifles is really good right now. So the auto wound, it bypasses a lot of stuff like grot shields, and it bypasses shield drones, and it's just a super useful ability to have by ignoring wound rolls. Intercessors with bolt rifles, Thunderhammer. I think auto bolt rifles might be better there, but that's just me. Got a Chapter Champion and a Contemptor Dread with Twin Las and a Fist. Strange choice for me, taking that instead of just like double Las Cannon. Thunderfire Cannon, Impulsor, Repulsor. But why? Again, strange choices. Tech Marine and then 3 Victrix Honor Guard. Where's the damage? Is my question here. Because there's nothing really that could threaten high toughness stuff like all that much. I suppose you're trying to go for the durability over everything else, but I think you're missing out on a lot of damage on this list. And if you're going for durability, there's a lot of armies that will do it better. So we've got a guard list from Pig Next Door. So we have a brigade with triple commander, and then a bunch of infantry, just base, 3 astropaths, 3 standard sentinels just to fill the detachments, and then 2 basilisks and a wyvern. Fine. I don't... Agile warriors means they can advance with no something or other. Let's find out. Astra Militarum, Agile Warriors. So, Regimental, Custom Doctrines, Agile Warriors. They can reroll the advance. Okay, so basically you can cover a lot of ground with these guys, and that's what you're using it for. Which is fine. But it just seems like a lot of points, 900 points into this brigade for what is essentially a filler brigade. And then you've got your 2 Basque with full payload in there as well. And then we have a battalion of Dragoons with the 2 Tempestor, and then 3 squads of 10 Tempestus Scions. And then a Blood Angels detachment with 2 Smashies and a Ultra Sanguinary Guard and a Sanguinary Engine. This is a perfect attachment to plop in for 800 points. My problems come in when you've got basically this could be replaced with, like, why do you need this when basically they're just going in and they've got hotshot las guns. That's it. That's the only thing they have. Like, give them some plasma or something. Give them something. And then I think Agile Warriors, there's no point. Because you get move anyway. You're getting a lot of movement. Like, you don't need that much movement to get these guardsmen everywhere. I think you're fine. Then we're going to go on to Thulram, who is playing Eldari. So we've got a Craft Worlds attachment of Farseer and a Warlock, both Skyrunners, 3 Rangers, Shiny Spears, only a squad of 6 with the Exarch, 2 Wave Serpents. So first up, this detachment is a little weird in that he's taken 2 Wave Serpents and only 6 Spears. And Skilled Riders. I know people like it for the +1 to charge, but I still think from what a lot of top Eldari players are doing right now that Hunters of Ancient Relics is better. Especially since you're going to be quickening them and moving them up board so fast. The +1 to charge will only really come into any use if you're like, I could fail this charge and it's like a 6-inch charge. Like, with the amount of movement you have, you shouldn't be failing your charges anyway. With your reroll, should be more than fine. And then 2 Wave Serpents. I think Falcon Wave Serpent's probably better, but we'll come on to the next bit anyway about that. So then we have a Spearhead of an Autarch, 3 Fire Prisms, 3 Night Spinners. Falcons, I think, are better than Fire Prisms now, because once you kill one Fire Prism and then you kill the other, the usefulness goes down a lot. Falcons can operate pretty independently, very much independently actually, by themselves. And Fire Prisms have low shot counts as well. And then we have the 3 Night Spinners, which is what you need them for. And then he's got Drukhari, Cabal of the Blackheart, obviously for the stratagem. But my problem with this is, why not take this? This is for 200 points. Take it as a patrol. Just take an Archon and 1 Cavalite squad. Something cheap. Because it doesn't need to be expensive if you just... This is basically just to unlock the stratagem. Why spend 200 points on it? Just do a patrol. You lose out on what? You lose out on 4 CP, but you already have a battalion here. With that extra money, you could spend it on things that will actually do damage. Like upgrading these Wave Serpents, or taking 1 Wave Serpent out and having like another 2 Falcons or something. Just food for thought there. Then we're going to look at Thunderwolf with his Chaos. He's got Armin not on a disc for some reason. 2 Demon Prince of Tzeentch. That's the Supreme Command of Cult of Magic. And then we have a Chaos Undivided Death Guard list of 2 Poxbringers, bunch of Nurglings, bunch of PBCs, and then Supreme Command again of 2 Dark Apostles, Master Possession, Possessed. And then he's got reinforcements for 200 points. Yeah, what are the reinforcements for? Summoning, maybe? I guess? So he's got the Possess Bomb. But my understanding of the Possess Bomb is you have stuff in front of it which is hard to kill, so the Possess Bomb are untargetable, or are harder to target, something like that. So you have like a Disco Lord in front of it that's -4 to hit, and then they can't be targeted. That's my understanding of this tactic. because by themselves, Possessed are very easy to manipulate in the game with how you position and what you do with them if they don't have that support. And they're very slow, and they can be forced to do things that they don't really want to do, like walk into open area and spread out and go one way where you split up your army. So yeah, it's a strange list in that it doesn't have, in my mind, he doesn't have something to cover the Possessed. And then the reinforcement points, I'm not sure what they're for. I'm not really sure what he's trying to summon with 200 points. Maybe another Demon Prince. Probably is another Demon Prince. But then why not just take it? Yeah, cool, interesting. See how that goes. Waffle with his pure AdMech. Oh, and here we go. This is the good stuff. And by good stuff, I mean this is actually terrible. So he's taking a Ryza detachment. This is the classic stuff you saw like last year before Space Marines came out of Tech Priest Dominus, Tech Priest Manipulus, and too many of this. Too many. Stop it. You've gone too far. And then some Plasma Vanguard, 2 Servitors for obviously regenning the Cat Front Destroyers. And then he's got another stage detachment of Daedalus engines here, and just filler stuff here. You've gone too far, mate. Too far. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Is it 12 in both? I think it's 12 in both. 24 Cataphrone Destroyers is way too much. That's 24 D6 plasma shots. And I get they're really strong. But also, the problem here is you've got this Styges. And I'm pretty sure Daedalus doesn't work that way. I could be totally wrong though. No, it's friendly Adeptus Mechanicus units. That's interesting because he's not locked to keyword, I guess. So that does work at least. At least that's a thing. But yeah, too many destroyers. I think because basically your stuff to hold objectives is flimsy Rangers, and you've got some Dragoons to go up in his face. I think if you cut this. And instead, it's going to seem like an idiot idea, but cut this and instead take Termite Drill and Breachers. MSU Breachers or maybe, yeah, MSU Breachers probably be fine. It gives you a way to hold objectives with hardy bodies, and also 12 Cataphrone Destroyers will just burn or anything. You don't need 24. Like, there's not much in the game that's going to stand up to 12 Cataphrone Destroyers, +1 to wound, +1 to hit, rerolling 1s, and +1 damage on the plasma if you overcharge. There's barely anything will stand up to that. It's not needed to have 24. And then this is fine. Take a drill for them, because this popping up in a drill and just obliterating something in the backline is really good. You can just pop up behind Space Marines lines, like right at the board edge, and blow like Thunderfire cannons off the table. It's really good. Servitors are obviously fine. The Styges detachment, I think these are out of date. Dragoons used to be great, but now there's so many full rerolls for a lot of popular armies. I don't think these are good anymore. If you cut these down, you could take Disintegrators, and Disintegrators are better. They'll do more damage over the game, and they're more dangerous over the whole game. You don't really have a way to dig people out of line of sight, and I think Disintegrators would give you that. Taking 2 of them, or finding the whatever 60 points to take 3 of them, probably be better. And you don't really need all these snipers either, because the snipers are pretty good, but they're pretty unreliable at the same time. So yeah, good AdMech list, but too many destroyers. And then we have Zay with his Tau. Looks like commander spam. So yeah, it's Farsight with Crisis Enforcer with Sibs, And then Crisis Bomb with burst cannons. I think Sibs are better. And it doesn't... I don't know if you have to choose your prototype beforehand, but I think not having a prototype and then is obviously a bad choice as well. But yeah, I think Sibs are better here. They're more expensive, but I think you do a lot more damage. And then we have a Sib Crisis with 1 fusion, and then an Enforcer with 3 Sibs, 3 strike teams, 3 Pathfinders, and then 2 Commanders, and then 3 Ghost Kills, which are... Who takes Ghost Kills anymore? There's a glaring problem with this list, and you guys have probably found it already, because it's my problem with a lot of the tile lists we've seen so far, in that there's zero shield drones. And that makes this entire list just collapse, like, instantly. Like, you can drop these in and kill something, but they don't have any protection, they're gonna die. All your marker lights are dead. They're all dead. You have 2, 3, 4, 5... You've got 6 marker lights that hit on 5s. Or 4s, and they're all dead. And then the commanders are great, but they don't have any protection. They've got a total of like 6 infantry squads, or 9 infantry squads to protect them. Actually, he's got marker lights here as well, but still, these marker lights are gated behind strike teams and Pathfinder teams that don't hit often, and they die like paper, and there's no protection for them. And then the Ghost Kills are just really bad. I think they're not great at all. And that doesn't even address the fact that you're giving up a lot of points in ITC. You're giving up Butcher's Bill really easily because your strike teams die so easily. You're giving up Headhunter with Commanders, because Commanders with no protection will die when they get out of position. The Ghost Kills all will give up like Big Game Hunter and stuff like that. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45... yeah, it's... I can't remember if these have the monster keyword, I don't think so, but you could give up big game and stuff like that as well, I think. Let's find out. So they don't have the monster keyword, so they won't give up big game, but still, it's a list that gives up a lot of secondaries. Ghost Kills are just not great as well. Like Ballistical 4, they're basically like Riptides but worse. Yeah, weird choice. Weird choice. I don't think this works at all. IMO TBH, and then the final list. We're looking at Heretic Astartes from Zoriath. So he's got an Alpha Legion detachment of Chaos Lord and Dark Apostle, 3 Chaos Space Marines, Havocs, and Obliterators, and then he has Emperor's Children with Jump Pack, Sorcerer, Chaos Cultists, and then he has World Eaters of Chaos Lord, Champion, Khorne Berserkers, Chaos Terminators, Chaos Rhinos. I think we've seen each of these like detachments kind of run, well, not this middle one, but we've seen each of these 2 detachments kind of run as entire armies. It's strange to see them like mixed in with other stuff. I guess it kind of makes sense. I'm not a massive fan of Havocs. I think better points could be better spent somewhere else. It's a lot of cultists and not a lot of Khorne Berserkers. Like I know he's trying to get CP, I guess. But this is a lot of CP to start with. You could cut out this entire detachment, really. I'm not sure what this adds to the army. So you could just cut this and spend those points, distribute them along here to give you more Berserkers. I know you want to put them in the Rhinos, but I think you could just take more Berserkers and more Rhinos and just fill the board, so they don't really have a choice but to try and chew through all of them. Yeah. Chaos. Basically, they have a lot of options now, and they can do a lot of stuff. So that's all the lists. We've seen some good ones that have hung around from last the placements, and we've seen a lot of new lists and a lot of new players, and we've seen a lot of very competitive lists and some off the wall ones that might do well. We've seen maybe some bad ones, in my opinion. and we've seen a lot of good ones in my opinion. But it's interesting to see. So let's have a look at the faction breakdown very quickly. So if we look over at this small chart first, we can see there's 42 Imperium players. And I think that's quite misleading there, because a lot of the Imperium, if we go into this after, it'll explain it a bit better. A lot of the Imperium is people playing, one person playing this army, and one person playing this army, and one person playing this army. They're different codexes, so they are quite different. And then we have 11 Chaos, and that is mostly Chaos Soup. I don't think we saw many monofaction, like monofaction Death Guard or monofaction Alpha Legion, stuff like that. It was a lot of people pick and choosing from different what's it called? Different subfactions to get the best out of everything. And that's where Chaos is so strong right now. And then we have 7 whole Tyranid players, which, oh my god, the amount of people that complain that Tyranids didn't get anything from Psychic Awakening, their book was so weak, and oh my god, it's so terrible. And now they're starting to go like, oh, actually, our book's actually really good. Or it's not really good, but our book's better than we thought it was, and we have a lot of options, and we can actually do a lot of damage. And they're starting to realize that their army isn't terrible. And it's the same that happened with Eldari. Everyone thought when the Eldari Psychic Awakening book came out, everyone thought, oh, it's terrible, it's awful, it's not good. But yeah, your Tyranid players should be happy. You got a good book. You just had to look for the stratagems. You had to look for the tactics. 2 Necron players. I think that's down from what it was before. I think we had 3 or 4, and that's because I think Eldari and Tyranids and even Guard just like stomp all over Necrons. Necrons were doing good because Space Marines were so popular, but I think the Raven Guard list and stuff stomps all over Necrons as well. 6 Tau, obviously, with the Psychic Awakening release, they got a lot of options, but I think this number is misleading on how many are actually competitive. A lot of people have tried to mix and match, and a lot of people have tried different things that, in my opinion, aren't strong, and I might be wrong there. I think a lot of people have forgotten why Tau are good, and it's their resilience and their ability to keep their firepower for the entire game. But we'll see how they turn out. 3 Orcs, they're all running pretty much the same list, except for one was Speed Freaks, where they all have like 3 shock attack guns or 2. And that's basically Orcs rely on shock attack guns to win them games, basically, is how it works now. And then 7 Eldari lists, which were all pretty similar. They all had some form of craft worlds with Shining Spears and Night Spinners. Some had falcons, some had fire prisms, some had flyers, some didn't, and then most of them had a Drukhari element as well. I think only one had Harlequins, but most of them had a Drukhari element with Cabal of the Blackheart or something similar for access to the stratagem and the other Dark Eldar stuff that is just a bit warp fuckery. So it's a fairly expected split, I think, of factions. Imperium's always going to be the biggest. It has the most options, and the most people are naturally going to be playing Imperium. One surprise for me is this many Tyranid players. I think that's the biggest surprise. I thought we'd see about equal Tau and Chaos, and it seems like the Tyranids being more than Tau is weird to me. So let's look at this, the army count. So this is the actual breakdown of what their primary faction is, or their overall faction. So we can see Chaos being this many. This is the Chaos like super faction, or the Chaos soup, really. And you see it's a lot bigger than like all the individual factions here. Bigger than the Mono Blood Angels, bigger than the Raven Guards, slightly smaller than Tyranids, but then also you have over here all the other Chaos. So you've got the Night Lords, Iron Warriors. So it is a lot of people playing Chaos, and most of them are playing Soup. And then we look at the Imperium, where it's 12.5% people playing Imperium Soup. And then you look at all the individual factions, and it's like 2 people playing Deathwatch, and then 2 people playing Dark Angels, and then 2 people playing Salamanders, and then 1 Talaran, and then few Raven Guard, few Ultramarines, and then it's like 1 or 2 people playing each of these like individual one factions. Like 1 or 2 people are playing each of these. So more people are playing monofaction, I think, than the Imperium Soup. Whereas more people are playing Chaos Soup than Mono Chaos. And I think that makes sense, because Chaos Soup is, I think, a lot better and a lot more incentivized than Imperium Soup right now. What else can we glean from this? Eldari, yeah. I mean, more people are souping, I think. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much the breakdown there. Yeah, so we have a look at this, and most people are playing Eldari Soup. Probably could have looked at this before. Space Marine's obviously making up the most of every army, more than any other faction, I think. But seems like Soup's back on the menu, boys. And it doesn't surprise me after Doctrines got hit with the nerf bat that less people are playing monofaction Space Marine armies, and they've either gone back to their other armies like Xenos and stuff, or they've gone on to do monofaction or Imperial Soup. So that's it. It'll be interesting to see when the next split comes around and we've got Engine War and Saga of the Beast out. See what the impact is there on our meta. I think we'll see more and more Imperium Soup then, because if Imperial Knights and AdMech, I've said this for a long time, if AdMech gets any sort of semi-decent Psychic Awakening, say it's on the same level as Eldari or Tau, if it's on that sort of level, AdMech become extremely broken because their units are extremely cheap. And then Imperial Knights, we all know how oppressive the Castellan was. It's going to be extremely hard to add anything into Imperial Knights without also making them very strong. So that is my hot takes. I hope you've enjoyed this look down on all your lists. I might do another video when we look at all this mess, and I kind of predict who I think will be the winners of each group, and who will go up and who will go down. But we'll see. It's Cabin Fever's getting to me. But thank you very much for watching this review series. I have very much enjoyed doing it. My voice is hoarse. My mind is boggled. I've looked at lists. I've seen more Raven Guard Centurions and Aggressors than I want to ever see again. But I've enjoyed it. So thank you very much, guys. I am going to shoot off. I'm gonna have a bath. I'm gonna do all the things I need to do to get calmed down, and then maybe I'll have a look at these pods. So I'll catch you later, guys. Thank you very much.